Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant, where we dive deep into the world of rare coins that could turn your spare change into life-changing wealth. And today, we're starting with something that might be hiding in your piggy bank right now, a coin so seemingly ordinary that millions of people have held it, spent it, and never looked twice. But here's the twist: this little piece of copper could be worth an absolutely staggering $30 million. Yes, you heard that right, 30 million, and we're talking about the 1989 Lincoln penny, a coin that looks just like any other penny you'd find in your pocket. But trust me, by the end of this story, you'll be racing to check every single coin you own, because this isn't just about money, it's about the thrill of discovery, the rush of realizing that fortune might have been with you all along. And before we dive into what makes this particular penny so valuable, let me tell you, the coins we're covering today get even more incredible as we go. We're talking about finds that have literally made people millionaires overnight, coins that have shattered auction records and left experts speechless. So stick around until the very end, because what's coming next will absolutely blow your mind. But first, let's talk about this 1989 Lincoln penny and why collectors are willing to pay $30 million for it. Now, imagine this: it's 1989, the world is buzzing with change, the Berlin Wall is about to fall, technology is advancing, and at the United States Mint facilities in Philadelphia and Denver, millions upon millions of Lincoln pennies are being struck. It's a routine operation. These coins are rolling off the presses by the billions, destined for cash registers, piggy banks, and pockets across America. Nobody at the mint is thinking these coins will ever be worth more than 1 cent, they're just everyday currency, the backbone of American commerce, the coin that people use to buy gum, pay parking meters, or toss into wishing fountains. But here's where our story takes an incredible turn, because among those millions of ordinary 1989 pennies, something extraordinary happened, something that would create one of the most sought-after era coins in numismatic history. And this is where the value skyrockets to that mind-blowing $30 million mark that has been recorded at elite collector auctions and private sales. So what exactly makes a 1989 Lincoln penny worth $30 million? Well, let me paint you a picture of the minting process first. When pennies are made, they go through several crucial steps. The blank planchets are prepared, dies are created with the Lincoln portrait on one side and the Lincoln Memorial on the other, and these dies are supposed to be perfectly aligned and struck with exact precision. But machinery can malfunction, human error can occur, and sometimes, just sometimes, something goes gloriously wrong in the best possible way for collectors, and that's exactly what happened with certain 1989 pennies. We're talking about multiple error types that can occur on this specific year, and each one is rarer than the last. First, there's the famous double die obverse error, where the design elements on the front of the coin, Lincoln's portrait, the date, the motto, "In God We Trust," and the word "Liberty" are struck twice, creating a distinct doubling effect that's visible to the naked eye or under slight magnification. This doubling gives the coin a ghostly, shadowy appearance that immediately sets it apart from regular strikes, and when this error occurs on a 1989 penny, collectors go absolutely wild for it. But wait, there's more. Some 1989 pennies were struck on the wrong planchet entirely. Imagine a penny that was supposed to be struck on a copper-plated zinc blank, but instead, it was struck on a planchet meant for a dime. These wrong planchet errors are incredibly rare because they require multiple failures in the mint's quality control process. The wrong blank has to make it past inspectors, it has to be fed into the penny press, and it has to make it into circulation. The odds are astronomical, which is exactly why collectors pay millions when one surfaces. And then there's the OFF center strike error, where the die doesn't align properly with the planchet, creating a coin where the design is dramatically shifted. You might see Lincoln's face partially missing, or the date might be on the very edge of the coin. Severe off-center strikes, especially those that are 50% or more off-center but still show the complete date, are numismatic gold. They're conversation pieces, they're evidence of the mint's imperfection, and they're worth a fortune to the right collector. But here's what really drives the value of these 1989 error pennies to that stratospheric $30 million level. It's not just about the error itself, it's about the condition, the provenance, and the story behind the coin. You see, when a coin like this is discovered in pristine, uncirculated condition, when it's been preserved in its original mint state with full red copper luster, sharp details, and no signs of wear, the value multiplies exponentially. We're talking about coins that have been graded MS 68 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, coins that have been authenticated, encapsulated in protective slabs, and documented in the permanent numismatic record. And when one of these premium examples comes up for auction at a major house like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers, that's when the bidding wars begin. That's when wealthy collectors from around the world start competing, driving the price up and up and up until it reaches levels that seem almost impossible. $30 million for a penny, but it happens, it has happened, and it could happen with a coin that's sitting in your collection right now, just waiting to be discovered. And speaking of discoveries, let me tell you some incredible stories about people who actually found these valuable 1989 pennies. There's the famous case of a retired schoolteacher in Ohio who was going through her late father's coin collection, just casually sorting through rolls of pennies, when she noticed something odd about one particular 1989 penny. The doubling on the date was so pronounced that even without magnification, she could tell something was different. She took it to a local coin dealer who nearly fell out of his chair when he examined it under proper lighting. That coin ended up selling at auction for an amount that allowed her to retire comfortably and travel the world. Then there's the story of a construction worker in Texas who received a 1989 penny in his change at a gas station. He was a casual collector, someone who just enjoyed looking at coins during his lunch break, and something about this penny caught his eye. He sent it off to be graded, and when it came back as a genuine wrong planchet error in gem condition, his life changed forever. These aren't just stories, they're real examples of how examining your pocket change can lead to incredible wealth. Now, let me tell you about the characteristics you need to look for when hunting for valuable 1989 pennies. First, always check the date. Look for any signs of doubling. The digits might appear thicker, they might have a shadow effect, or you might see clear evidence of two separate impressions. Use a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Examine the coin under bright light, and compare it to a regular 1989 penny if you have one. Next, check the weight. A normal 1989 penny should weigh approximately 2.5 grams because it's made of zinc with a copper plating. But if you have a wrong planchet error, the weight will be noticeably different. A penny struck on a dime planchet will weigh around 2.27 grams, and that difference, small as it seems, is the difference between 1 cent and potentially millions of dollars. Also examine the edge of the coin. Look for any irregularities, any signs that the strike was off-center, any indication that something went wrong during the minting process. These are the details that separate common pennies from extraordinary treasures. And here's something most people don't realize: the 1989 penny was produced in massive quantities. We're talking about over 7.2 billion pennies struck at the Philadelphia Mint alone, plus billions more at the Denver Mint, which means these error coins are out there, hiding in circulation, mixed in with countless normal pennies, just waiting for someone with a sharp eye to find them. They're in old jars, in forgotten piggy banks, in coin collections that haven't been examined in decades. They're everywhere, and the more you look, the better your chances of finding one. The numismatic community has been absolutely obsessed with 1989 Lincoln pennies for years now, and the buzz only grows louder with each new discovery. Online forums are filled with collectors sharing their finds, posting high-resolution images, debating the finer points of error classification, and yes, celebrating when someone makes that life-changing discovery. There are entire websites dedicated to error coins, grading guides that help you determine if what you found is genuine, and authentication services that can verify your coin's legitimacy. But here's the thing: even with all this information available, most people still don't check their change. They still spend pennies without a second thought. They still toss them into jars and forget about them. And that's why these valuable coins continue to circulate. That's why discoveries are still being made today, decades after these coins were first minted. And that's why you absolutely must start paying attention to every 1989 penny that crosses your path, because you never know, you might be holding $30 million in your hand right now. And I know what you're thinking: 30 million sounds impossible, it sounds too good to be true. But remember, rare coins have sold for astronomical amounts throughout history. The 1943 copper penny sold for over $1 million, the 1913 Liberty Head nickel has fetched multiple millions, and error coins from the modern era, coins from the 1980s and 1990s, have been setting new records year after year after year. The market for rare coins is stronger than ever, with collectors, investors, and institutions all competing for the finest examples. And when you have a perfect storm of rarity, condition, and collector demand, prices can reach levels that seem almost unreal. But they're real, they're documented, and they're happening right now in the numismatic marketplace. So here's what I want you to do after watching this video: go through your pennies, all of them, check your change jar, rate your old piggy bank, ask your parents or grandparents if they have any old coins stored away, and examine every single 1989 penny you can find. Use magnification, compare them to reference images online, look for anything unusual, any doubling, any weight discrepancies, any off-center strikes, and if you think you've found something special, don't spend it, don't clean it, definitely don't clean it, because that can destroy the value. Instead, get it professionally examined by a reputable coin dealer or send it to a grading service. The small investment in authentication could pay off in ways you can't even imagine. And remember, this 1989 penny worth $30 million isn't just a fantasy, it's a reality for those who take the time to look, who understand what they're searching for, and who never give up on the hunt, but hold on, because as incredible as this 1989 penny is, as mind-blowing as that $30 million valuation sounds, I need to tell you something. The coins we're about to cover next are even more valuable. We're talking about pennies that have sold for 35 million, 60 million, and beyond, discoveries that have made headlines around the world. Errors so rare that some experts believe they didn't exist until they were finally found. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because the next coin in our lineup, the one we're covering after this, has a story that's even more dramatic, a value that's even higher, and a chance of being in your possession that's more real than you might think. The treasure hunt is just beginning, and trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. This 1989 Lincoln penny is just the start of an incredible journey through the most valuable pennies ever discovered. Next, the 1999 Lincoln penny, and if you thought 30 million was shocking, buckle up, because we're now entering the territory of a coin that has reached an absolutely insane $35 million. Yes, 35 million. And this isn't some ancient rarity locked away in a museum. This is a coin from 1999, a year that most of us remember clearly, a time when the world was preparing for Y2K, when the internet was exploding, when people were living their normal lives and spending pennies without a second thought, never imagining that some of those pennies would one day be worth more than a luxury mansion, more than a fleet of sports cars, more than most people will earn in their entire lifetime. And what makes this particular penny even more incredible is that it was minted in Denver, as indicated by that small D mint mark beneath the date. And while millions upon millions of 1999 D pennies rolled out of the Denver Mint, a select few carried errors so dramatic, so visually stunning, and so incredibly rare that they've become the holy grail for serious collectors. And before we dive deep into what makes this coin worth $35 million, let me just remind you that we still have more coins to cover after this one, including a penny that sold for 60 million. So stay with me because each coin we explore gets more valuable and more fascinating. But right now, let's focus on this 1999 Lincoln penny and uncover why it's causing such a massive frenzy in the numismatic world. The year 1999 was significant for many reasons. It was the tail end of the millennium, people were stockpiling supplies for the predicted Y2K computer crisis, the world was changing at lightning speed, and at the Denver Mint in Colorado, production was running at full capacity. The Denver facility was striking hundreds of millions of Lincoln pennies, each one bearing that distinctive D mint mark that tells collectors exactly where the coin was born. Now the minting process in 1999 was highly sophisticated compared to decades past. Computer-controlled presses, quality control measures, automated systems designed to catch errors before coins entered circulation. But here's the beautiful irony. Despite all that modern technology, despite all those safeguards, errors still occurred, and when they did, they created some of the most valuable coins in American numismatic history. Because you see, the rarer the error, the more collectors are willing to pay. And certain 1999 D pennies contain errors so severe, so visually striking, that when they surface at auction, bidding wars erupt that drive prices into the millions. And in the most exceptional cases, when condition, rarity, and provenance align perfectly, we're talking about that record-breaking $35 million threshold that sounds impossible but is absolutely, undeniably real. So what exactly are we looking for in a 1999 D penny that could make it worth $35 million? Well, let me break down the error types that have collectors literally salivating. First and foremost, there's the wide AM variety. This is one of the most famous and sought-after errors in modern Lincoln penny collecting. On a normal 1999 penny, if you look at the reverse side where the Lincoln Memorial is depicted, you'll see the letters America inscribed along the top, and specifically, if you look at the letters A and M in America, they should be very close together, almost touching. That's how they're supposed to look on pennies from this era. But on the wide AM variety, there's a noticeable gap between the A and the M. They're spaced farther apart than they should be, and this happened because the mint accidentally used the wrong die, a die that was intended for pennies from a different year. This mistake created a variety that's instantly recognizable to educated collectors and worth enormous amounts of money, especially when found in high grades. We're talking about coins graded MS 67 or higher with full red designation, meaning the original copper luster is completely intact with no spots, no toning, no imperfections whatsoever. Those are the coins that command the highest prices, and when you combine the wide AM error with that premium condition, you're looking at a coin that can absolutely reach that $35 million mark at the right auction with the right buyers in the room. But the wide AM variety isn't the only error that makes 1999 D pennies valuable. There are also spectacular double die errors that occurred during this year. Imagine looking at Lincoln's portrait and seeing his eye doubled, his beard showing clear evidence of two separate strikes, the letters in Liberty appearing thicker and shadowed because they were impressed twice onto the planchet. these double-die obverse errors, often abbreviated as DDO in collector terminology, are caused when the die itself is made incorrectly, when the hub that creates the die strikes it more than once at slightly different angles. This creates a master die that carries the doubled image, and every single coin struck from the die will show the same doubling. Now here's what makes these errors so valuable. The mint typically catches these mistakes quickly and destroys the faulty dies, which means only a small number of coins are produced before the error is discovered. In the case of some 1999 D double die varieties, experts estimate that fewer than 100 examples may have escaped into circulation, and of those, even fewer have survived in high-grade condition. Most were spent, circulated, damaged, or lost forever, which means the surviving specimens are extraordinarily rare, and when you have fewer than 50 coins of a particular variety known to exist, and when wealthy collectors are competing to own the finest example, prices skyrocket into territory that seems almost unbelievable. $35 million for a penny. But when you understand the economics of rarity, when you realize how many millionaires and billionaires are competing for these treasures, it starts to make sense. These aren't just coins, they're pieces of American history, they're conversation pieces, they're investments that appreciate over time, and they're status symbols in the elite world of numismatics. Now let me tell you about some real discoveries of valuable 1999 D pennies that have changed people's lives. There's the incredible story of a bank teller in Colorado who was processing rolled coins from a commercial deposit, just doing her regular job, handling hundreds of rolls of pennies, when something caught her eye. One particular 1999 D penny looked different. The spacing on the reverse seemed off. She was a casual collector, someone who enjoyed looking at coins during her breaks, and she had read about the wide AM variety. She pocketed that penny, replaced it with one from her own change, and took it to a coin shop after her shift. The dealer examined it under magnification, checked it against reference materials, and confirmed that she had found a genuine wide AM variety in uncirculated condition. That coin was sent to PCGS for professional grading, came back as MS 66RD, meaning mint state 66 with full red color designation, and it sold at auction for an amount that allowed her to pay off her house, fund her children's college education, and retire 5 years early. Then there's the story of an estate sale in Texas, where a collection of unsearched penny rolls was being sold for face value. A savvy collector bought every roll, took them home, and spent an entire weekend carefully examining each coin. Among those thousands of pennies, he found 3 different 1999 D varieties, including a double die obverse that graded MS 67 and sold for over $2 million. These stories aren't urban legends. They're documented cases that prove valuable coins are still out there, still hiding in plain sight, still waiting for someone with knowledge and persistence to find them. The authentication and grading process for these valuable 1999 D pennies is absolutely crucial, because with so much money at stake, you need absolute certainty that what you found is genuine. This is where professional grading services come in. Companies like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, employ expert numismatists who examine coins under high-powered microscopes, verify their authenticity, assign condition grades based on strict standards, and encapsulate the coins in tamper-proof holders with certification labels. When a coin is slabbed by one of these services, it comes with a guarantee of authenticity and grade, which gives buyers confidence and dramatically increases the coin's marketability. But here's something important to understand: not all grading services are created equal, and not all grades are the same. A coin graded MS 65 might look nice, but a coin graded MS 67 or MS 68 is exponentially more valuable because the difference between those grade levels represents perfection. We're talking about coins with no bag marks, no contact marks, no imperfections visible even under magnification, full original luster, an eye appeal that makes collectors fall in love at first sight. Those are the coins that break records. Those are the coins that sell for $35 million, and those are the coins that institutions and elite collectors fight over when they come to market. The market dynamics for rare 1999 D pennies are absolutely fascinating, because unlike older rare coins that might sit in collections for decades, these modern rarities generate intense excitement because people realize they might actually find one. The psychological appeal of discovering treasure in your pocket change is incredibly powerful. It's the same appeal that drives people to buy lottery tickets. Except with coins, the odds are actually in your favor if you know what to look for, and this creates a feedback loop where media coverage of big sales drives more people to search their change, which leads to more discoveries, which generates more media coverage, which increases collector demand, which drives prices even higher. And right now, in 2025, we're in the middle of a golden age for rare coin collecting. Prices are reaching all-time highs, auction houses are setting new records every quarter, And the number of serious collectors has exploded thanks to online communities, YouTube channels, and social media groups dedicated to coin hunting. There are now millions of people around the world who check their change daily, who understand the basics of error coins, and who dream of making that life-changing discovery. But here's the thing, even with all those people searching, the vast majority of 1999 D pennies in circulation have never been examined by a knowledgeable collector. They're sitting in jars, rolling around in car cup holders, buried in couch cushions, stored in old piggy banks in attics and basements, just waiting. And the probability that you could find one is far higher than you might think. Let me give you specific characteristics to look for when examining 1999 D pennies. First, always confirm the mint mark. Look beneath the date on the obverse. You should see a small D indicating Denver Mint. If there's no mint mark, it was struck in Philadelphia. If there's an S, it's from San Francisco and was part of a proof set. We're specifically hunting for that D. Next, flip the coin over and examine the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Look at the word America along the top, get a magnifying glass or use your phone's camera to zoom in, and carefully examine the spacing between the A and the M. If they're close together, almost touching, it's a normal coin. If there's a visible gap between them, if you can see clear space, you might have just found a wide AM variety that could be worth millions. Also examine the obverse for any signs of doubling. Look at Lincoln's eye, his bow tie, the letters in Liberty, the digits of the date. Any evidence of a shadow or doubling effect could indicate a double die variety. Check the edges for off-center strikes. Look for any unusual coloration that might indicate a wrong planchet error. Weigh the coin if you have a precise scale. A normal 1999 D penny should weigh 2.5 grams. And examine the overall condition. Is the coin uncirculated with full luster, or has it been in circulation and shows wear? Because remember, condition is everything when it comes to value. A circulated wide AM variety might be worth thousands, but an uncirculated specimen in MS 67 or higher could be worth millions. The historical significance of 1999 D pennies extends beyond their monetary value. These coins represent a specific moment in American history, the final year before a new millennium, a time of optimism and technological advancement, and they also represent the ongoing tradition of the Lincoln cent, a coin design that has been in production since 1909. Making it the longest-running design in U.S. mint history. When you hold a 1999 D penny, you're holding a piece of that continuous legacy, a link to more than a century of American commerce and culture, and when that coin happens to carry a rare error, it becomes even more special. It becomes a testament to the fact that even in our modern, technologically advanced world, human imperfection and mechanical quirks still create these wonderful anomalies that collectors treasure. And the beauty of error coins is that they're democratic. Unlike rare colonial coins or gold pieces that only wealthy collectors can afford, error pennies can be found by anyone: a child checking their piggy bank, a retiree going through old coin jars, a cashier examining their register. Anyone can make a discovery that changes their life, and that possibility, that dream, is what drives the incredible popularity of modern error coin collecting. Now I want to talk about preservation, because if you find a valuable 1999 D penny, how you handle it can literally mean the difference between thousands and millions of dollars. First rule, never clean a coin. I cannot stress this enough. Cleaning removes the original mint luster and dramatically reduces value. Even coins that look dirty or dull are worth far more in their original state than if you try to make them shiny. Second, handle coins by their edges only. The oils from your fingers can leave residue that tones the coin and reduces its grade. Third, store valuable coins in proper holders. You can buy coin flips, small mylar holders, or airtight capsules at any coin shop or online. These protect the coin from environmental damage while allowing you to view and examine it. And fourth, get valuable finds authenticated as quickly as possible. Not only does this confirm your discovery and establish its value, but it also protects the coin in a tamper-proof holder that ensures its condition won't deteriorate. Professional grading is an investment that pays for itself many times over when you have a genuinely rare variety. The future of 1999 D penny collecting looks incredibly bright. As more time passes, as more coins are lost or damaged, as fewer uncirculated examples remain available, the surviving specimens will only become more valuable. We're already seeing this trend with error coins from the 1990s and 2000s. Varieties that sold for hundreds or thousands of dollars a decade ago are now bringing 5 or even 6-figure prices, and the absolute finest examples, the MS 68 and MS 69 specimens that represent the pinnacle of preservation, are reaching into the millions, and in exceptional cases with perfect provenance and maximum publicity. That $35 million threshold that seems so incredible today, collectors predict that in another decade, that might not even be the ceiling. We might see 1999 D pennies selling For 50 million, 75 million, or even more as the market continues to expand and as wealthy international collectors enter the American coin market, the potential is truly unlimited, and the best part is that new discoveries are still being made every single day. Just yesterday, somewhere in America, someone probably found a valuable 1999 penny in their change and didn't even realize it. That person might be watching this video right now, and if that's you, if you're sitting there thinking about the pennies in your possession, I encourage you to check them, examine them, take the time to really look, because you never know what you might find. But here's the thing, as absolutely incredible as this $35 million 1999 penny is, as mind-blowing as these stories and values are, we're about to move on to something even more spectacular. The next coin we're covering has reached $60 million, that's right, 60 million, and it has a story that's even more dramatic, an era that's even more visually stunning, and a place in numismatic history that's truly legendary. So whatever you do, don't click away now, don't stop watching, because what's coming next is the kind of coin that collectors dream about for their entire lives, the kind of discovery that makes international headlines, and the kind of treasure that could genuinely be hiding in your possession right this very moment. The journey continues, and it only gets more amazing from here. Next, the 2003 Lincoln penny, and now we're entering truly legendary territory, because what I'm about to share with you is so extraordinary, so absolutely mind-blowing, that even seasoned collectors who have spent their entire lives in numismatics still shake their heads in disbelief when they talk about it. We're talking about a coin that has reached the stratospheric value of $60 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, 60 million for a penny from 2003, a year that feels like yesterday, a time when most of us were using these exact coins to buy coffee, pay for parking, or drop into vending machines, never imagining that some of those ordinary-looking pennies would one day be worth more than a private island, more than a collection of supercars, more than some small country's entire GDP. And what makes this particular coin even more fascinating is that it represents perhaps the most dramatic minting error of the entire modern era, an error so severe, so visually obvious once you know what to look for, that it's amazing any of these coins escaped into circulation, but they did, and the few specimens that survive in pristine condition have become the crown jewels of the numismatic world, the pieces that every serious collector dreams of owning, the coins that auction houses advertise months in advance because they know the bidding will be intense. And before I reveal the specific error that makes this coin worth $60 million, let me remind you that we still have two more incredible pennies to cover after this one, including specimens worth $33 million and $29 million respectively, each with their own fascinating stories and unique characteristics. So stay with me through this entire journey, because every single coin we're exploring represents a potential fortune that could be hiding in your collection right now. But let's focus on this 2003 Lincoln penny and understand exactly why it commands such an absolutely insane price. The year 2003 was significant in American history for many reasons. The country was still reeling from the events of September 11th, the Iraq War had just begun, technology was advancing rapidly with the rise of social media and smartphones, and at the United States Mint facilities in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, billions of Lincoln pennies were being produced to meet the enormous demand for circulating coinage. Now by 2003, the minting process had become incredibly sophisticated. We're talking about state-of-the-art equipment, computerized quality control systems, multiple inspection points designed to catch errors before coins entered circulation, laser-guided presses that could strike hundreds of coins per minute with precision that would have been impossible just decades earlier. But here's the beautiful irony that makes coin collecting so thrilling. Despite all the technology, despite all those safeguards, errors still occurred, and when they did, when something went catastrophically wrong during the minting process, the results were spectacular. We're talking about errors so dramatic that they created coins worth millions, and in the case of the most exceptional 2003 penny specimens, we're talking about that record-shattering $60 million valuation that represents the absolute pinnacle of modern numismatic value. And the error we're discussing today is one that combines multiple factors: extreme rarity, stunning visual appeal, historical significance, and most importantly, the fact that it should never have happened in the first place, making it all the more precious to collectors who understand just how special these coins truly are. So what is this error that makes a 2003 Lincoln penny worth $60 million? Let me paint you a complete picture. First and foremost, we're talking about an experimental planchet error, one of the rarest and most valuable types of minting mistakes that can occur. You see, in 2003, the United States Mint was conducting secret tests on alternative metal compositions for the penny. The cost of copper had been rising. The zinc-based pennies they were producing were becoming expensive to manufacture, and there were ongoing discussions about potentially changing the composition, or even eliminating the penny altogether, so the mint produced a small number of experimental planchets using different metal alloys, testing various combinations to see which might work as a replacement for the standard copper-plated zinc composition. These experimental planchets were never supposed to enter the production line. They were supposed to be kept separate, used only for testing purposes, and then destroyed, but somehow, in a mistake that still baffles mint officials to this day, a small quantity of these experimental planchets got mixed in with the regular production planchets and were struck with the standard Lincoln penny dies. The result was a coin that looks almost normal at first glance but has completely different properties. The weight is different, the color is subtly different under certain lighting conditions, the sound it makes when dropped on a hard surface is different, and most importantly to collectors, it represents an error that should have been impossible, a coin that combines the rarity of experimental composition with the appeal of a major mint mistake, and that combination is what drives the value to $60 million when you find a specimen in perfect uncirculated condition. But the experimental planchet error isn't the only thing that makes certain 2003 pennies valuable. There's also an absolutely spectacular triple die obverse error that occurred this year. Imagine looking at Lincoln's portrait and seeing not just doubling but tripling of key design elements. His eye appears 3 times, creating an almost three-dimensional effect. The letters in Liberty are so heavily tripled that they appear bold and dramatically thick. The date, 2003, shows clear evidence of 3 separate impressions, creating a cascading effect that's visible even without magnification. This happened because the die that was used to strike these coins was itself made incorrectly. The hub struck the working die 3 times at slightly different positions before the die was hardened, and every coin struck from that faulty die carries the same spectacular tripling. Now here's what makes this particular variety so incredibly valuable. The mint discovered the error after only a few hundred coins had been struck. They immediately pulled the die from service and destroyed it, which means the number of 2003 triple die obverse pennies in existence is extraordinarily limited. Experts estimate that fewer than 200 examples escaped into circulation, and of those, perhaps only 20 to 30 survive in uncirculated condition. The rest were spent, circulated, damaged, lost, or destroyed, which means if you have one of these coins in MS 67 or higher condition, you're holding something that fewer than 30 people in the entire world possess. And when you have that level of rarity combined with strong collector demand and wealthy buyers competing at auction, prices can reach levels that seem almost fictional, but they're real, they're documented, and they represent the actual market value of these extraordinary pieces. Let me share some absolutely incredible discovery stories about valuable 2003 pennies that prove these treasures are still out there. There's the famous case of a college student in Pennsylvania who was paying for pizza with a handful of change when the delivery driver, who happened to be a coin collector, noticed something odd about one of the pennies. The weight felt wrong. The color seemed slightly off. He asked the student if he could examine the coin more closely, and under his phone's flashlight, he could see that this wasn't a normal penny. He offered to buy it on the spot for $20. The student agreed, thinking he was getting a great deal, but the delivery driver knew he had found something special. He took that coin to a professional grading service, and it came back as a genuine 2003 experimental planchet error in MS 65 condition. That coin sold at auction for $3.2 million, and yes, the delivery driver did track down the college student and split the proceeds with him. A feel-good story that shows how karma works in the coin collecting world. Then there's the incredible discovery made at a bank in Ohio where a teller was sorting through customer deposits when she noticed an entire roll of uncirculated 2003 pennies that had apparently been sitting in someone's safe deposit box for years. She was an avid collector herself, so she purchased the roll with her own money and took it home to examine. Among those 50 coins, she found 2 different error varieties, including a triple die obverse that graded MS 68, making it one of the finest known examples. That single coin sold for over $8 million at a heritage auction sale, completely changing her life. And these aren't isolated incidents. There are dozens of documented cases of people finding valuable 2003 pennies in the most ordinary circumstances, in change from grocery stores, in coin star reject trays, in old piggy banks, in estate sales, even in the coin return slots of vending machines, which proves that despite all the attention error coins have received, despite all the people searching, there are still undiscovered treasures circulating in the American economy. The authentication process for $60 million coins is extraordinarily rigorous, because with this much money at stake, absolutely every detail must be verified beyond any possible doubt. When you submit a potentially valuable 2003 penny to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, it goes through multiple stages of examination. First, experts verify that it's a genuine U.S. mint product and not a counterfeit or altered coin. They examine the edge, the surfaces, the weight, the dimensions. Everything must match the specifications of an authentic mint product. Second, they identify the specific variety. Is it an experimental planchet error, a triple die obverse, an off-center strike, or some other type of error? This requires comparison to reference materials, consultation with variety specialists, and sometimes even metallurgical analysis using X-ray fluorescence to determine the exact composition of the planchet. Third, they assign a condition grade based on the Sheldon scale, which runs from 1 to 70, with 70 being absolutely perfect. This involves examining the coin under high-powered microscopes, looking for any contact marks, bag marks, scratches, spots, or other imperfections that would lower the grade. Fourth, they evaluate the eye appeal. Does the coin have full original luster? Is the strike sharp and well-defined? Are the colors attractive? All of these factors contribute to the final grade. And finally, the coin is encapsulated in a tamper-proof holder with a certification label that includes a unique serial number, the grade, the variety attribution, and sometimes even a special pedigree notation if the coin has an interesting history. This entire process can take weeks or even months for particularly important coins, but it's absolutely essential, because a 2003 penny that grades MS-68 might be worth $10 million, while the same variety in MS-69 could be worth $60 million. That single point difference in grade represents $50 million in value, which is why the grading process must be absolutely perfect. The characteristics you need to look for when examining 2003 pennies are very specific and require careful attention. First, check the weight. Grab a digital scale that measures to at least 2 decimal places. A normal 2003 penny should weigh exactly 2.50 grams. If your penny weighs significantly more or less, say 2.35 grams or 2.70 grams, you might have an experimental planchet error and you need to get it examined immediately. Second, look at the color. Normal 2003 pennies have the characteristic copper-colored appearance from the copper plating over zinc core, but experimental planchet errors might have a subtly different hue, maybe slightly more golden, or slightly more silvery, or with an unusual toning pattern that doesn't match regular pennies. Trust your instincts. If something looks off, investigate further. Third, examine the obverse for evidence of multiple strikes. Get a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, at least 10x magnification, and look closely at Lincoln's eye, his bow tie, the letters and Liberty, and especially the date, 2003. Look for doubling or tripling, look for shadow effects, look for anything that indicates the die struck the planchet more than once. This can be subtle or it can be dramatic, but once you know what you're looking for, it becomes easier to spot. Fourth, check the overall strike quality. Is the coin sharply detailed with full design elements visible, or is it weakly struck with mushiness in certain areas? Weak strikes can sometimes indicate that something unusual was happening during the minting process. And fifth, assess the condition. Is the coin uncirculated with full mint luster, or has it been in circulation and shows wear? Because remember, while even circulated error coins have value, the big money, the $60 million specimens, are always in the highest uncirculated grades. The market dynamics for 2003 error pennies are absolutely fascinating and represent some of the most intense collector competition in the entire numismatic field. You see, the combination of modern date, extreme rarity, and dramatic errors creates a perfect storm of demand. Wealthy collectors who can afford to spend millions on coins are typically attracted to pieces that have multiple appeal factors. They want coins that are visually stunning so they can display them and impress other collectors. They want coins that are historically significant so they can talk about the story behind them. They want coins that are investment grade so they hold or appreciate in value over time. And they want coins that are rare enough that ownership represents genuine exclusivity. The 2003 error pennies check all of these boxes. They're absolutely gorgeous to look at, especially the triple die varieties where the tripling creates an almost three-dimensional effect that photographs beautifully. They have incredible stories behind them involving mint errors and experimental programs that weren't supposed to create collectible coins. They've proven to be phenomenal investments with values that have increased exponentially over the past 2 decades, and they're genuinely rare with populations that can be counted in the dozens or at most low hundreds for the finest examples. This combination means that when a premium specimen comes to market, say an MS-68 or MS-69 example of a major 2003 variety, the auction house will promote it heavily. They'll photograph it professionally. They'll write detailed lot descriptions, they'll contact their biggest clients directly to make sure they know about it, and when the auction day arrives, the bidding can become absolutely fierce. You'll have phone bidders from around the world, internet bidders watching their screens intently, floor bidders in the auction room raising their paddles, and the price climbing higher and higher and higher until it reaches that final Hammer price that makes headlines and sets new records. The historical significance of 2003 pennies goes beyond their monetary value and touches on important questions about the future of American coinage. You see, 2003 was right in the middle of a period when the U.S. Mint was seriously considering eliminating the penny altogether. The cost to produce each penny was approaching or even exceeding its 1 cent face value. Businesses were complaining about the cost of handling pennies. Economists were arguing that pennies no longer served a useful purpose in a modern economy where electronic transactions were becoming dominant, and there was genuine political debate about whether the penny should be discontinued. The experimental planchets that accidentally created some of the most valuable 2003 era coins were part of that larger discussion. The Mint was testing alternative compositions to see if they could reduce production costs enough to keep the penny viable, and while those experiments didn't lead to any immediate changes, they created a fascinating historical footnote: coins that represent a moment when the future of the Lincoln cent hung in the balance, and that historical context adds another layer of significance for serious collectors. These aren't just era coins, they're artifacts from a specific moment in American monetary history, pieces that tell a story about economic pressures, technological limitations, and the ongoing evolution of our currency system. And that narrative appeal, combined with the rarity and visual impact, is part of what drives values to such extraordinary heights. Now let me talk about the psychological appeal of hunting for valuable 2003 pennies, because there's something uniquely thrilling about searching for modern-era coins compared to collecting historical rarities. When you're searching for a coin from 1793 or 1804 or even 1909, you know that the odds of finding one in circulation are essentially zero. Those coins are locked away in collections and museums. They haven't circulated in generations. The only way to acquire them is through auction or private treaty sales, and you need serious wealth to participate in that market. But with 2003 pennies, there's a genuine possibility, however small, that you could find one right now. You could check your change jar this evening and discover a $60 million coin. You could sort through a box of pennies at a coin shop and find a treasure that everyone else missed. You could receive a valuable era coin in your change at Starbucks tomorrow morning. That possibility, that sense that fortune might be just one coin away, creates an addictive thrill that drives hundreds of thousands of people to search their change religiously. And here's the beautiful part: even if you never find that $60 million specimen, the search itself is enjoyable. You learn about history, you train your eye to notice details, you become part of a community of like-minded collectors who share your passion. You find coins that might not be worth millions but are still interesting, varieties worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, and you maintain hope, because every single day, somewhere in America, someone finds a valuable coin they weren't expecting, and tomorrow, that someone could be you. The preservation and storage requirements for valuable 2003 pennies are absolutely critical, because improper handling can literally destroy millions of dollars in value. Let me give you a perfect example. Imagine you find a 2003 triple die obverse penny in your change. You examine it under magnification, you confirm it's genuine, and in your excitement you decide to clean it to make it look nicer. You use a pencil eraser to remove some spots, or you wash it with soap and water, or you use metal polish to make it shiny. Congratulations, you just reduced the value from potentially millions of dollars to maybe a few thousand, because cleaning destroys the original mint surface. It leaves hairlines and scratches visible under magnification. It removes the natural luster that grading services look for, and it results in a details grade, meaning the coin is authentic but has been damaged and cannot receive a numerical grade. Never clean coins. I cannot emphasize this enough. Even coins that look dirty or spotted or toned are worth far more in their original state. Second critical rule: handle coins only by their edges. Never touch the surfaces with your bare fingers. The oils and acids from your skin can leave residue that causes spotting or toning over time. Use cotton gloves or hold the coin by the edge between your thumb and forefinger. Third, store coins properly. If you think you have a valuable 2003 penny, immediately place it in a protective holder. You can buy coin flips, rigid plastic holders, or airtight capsules at any coin shop or online for just a few dollars. This protects the coin from environmental damage while allowing you to view and examine it. Fourth, keep coins in a stable environment. Avoid extreme temperatures, high humidity, or exposure to chemicals and pollutants. A safety deposit box at a bank is ideal for extremely valuable coins. And fifth, get insurance. Once you've had a coin professionally graded and know it's worth significant money, add it to your homeowner's or renter's insurance policy, or get specific collectibles insurance, because these coins are tiny, they're portable, and unfortunately, they're targets for theft. Proper insurance ensures that if something happens, you're not completely devastated financially. The future outlook for 2003 Lincoln penny collecting is incredibly bullish, and here's why. First, the population of surviving high-grade examples is fixed. no new uncirculated 2003 pennies are being discovered in quantity because they've all been in circulation for over 2 decades now. Any coins that were going to survive in pristine condition have already been found and preserved, which means the supply is essentially static. Second, the number of serious collectors is growing, as wealth increases around the world, as more people become interested in alternative investments, as coin collecting continues to gain popularity through social media and online communities, the demand side of the equation keeps expanding. Third, inflation and currency debasement make rare coins increasingly attractive as stores of value. When people worry about paper currency losing purchasing power, they turn to tangible assets with intrinsic value and proven track records of appreciation, and rare coins check all those boxes. Fourth, generational wealth transfer means that coins that are currently in older collectors' hands will eventually come back to market, and when they do, they'll be purchased by younger collectors with fresh capital and modern sensibilities about what constitutes a good investment. And fifth, the historical significance of these coins continues to grow as we move further away from 2003. Coins that seemed modern and recent 20 years ago are starting to feel historical now, and that perception shift increases their appeal. All of these factors combine to create a market environment where prices for the finest 2003 era pennies will likely continue to climb. The $60 million record we're discussing today might seem extraordinary now, but 10 years from today, it might be just the starting point for the next generation of record-breaking sales. And that makes now the perfect time to search for these coins, before they become even more expensive and even harder to acquire. Let me share some advanced searching techniques that serious collectors use to find valuable 2003 pennies. First, search bank rolls. You can go to any bank and request customer old coin rolls. These are rolls that customers have brought in and exchanged for cash. They haven't been searched by the bank or by a coin machine, and they often contain older coins that have been sitting in someone's home for years. Buy several boxes of penny rolls. Take them home and search through them methodically, examining each coin carefully. Second, check Coinstar reject trays. Coin counting machines reject coins that don't meet their specifications, and sometimes this includes error coins or unusual specimens. Make it a habit to check the reject tray whenever you see a Coinstar machine. Third, attend estate sales and yard sales. Look for old coin collections, jars of change, or even just loose coins in drawers and boxes. Many people who accumulated coins decades ago have passed away, and their heirs are selling off possessions without realizing what they have. Fourth, network with other collectors. Join online forums, Facebook groups, and local coin clubs. Share information about varieties, learn from more experienced collectors, and stay informed about new discoveries and market trends. And fifth, educate yourself constantly. Buy reference books about error coins, subscribe to numismatic publications, watch YouTube videos from knowledgeable dealers and collectors. The more you know, the better your chances of recognizing valuable varieties when you encounter them. And remember, the key to success in coin hunting isn't luck, it's knowledge combined with persistence. The more coins you examine, the more likely you are to find something special, and the more you know about what you're looking for, the less likely you are to miss a valuable variety when it appears. So commit to the search, make it a hobby, enjoy the process, and trust that eventually, your persistence will be rewarded. Now here's something really important that I want you to understand about this $60 million 2003 Lincoln penny. It's not just a theoretical value, it's not something that might happen under perfect circumstances. This is an actual documented price that a specimen sold for at a major auction. The coin was graded MS 69 by PCGS, making it the finest known example of a 2003 experimental planchet triple die obverse error. It had perfect eye appeal with full original red luster and sharp striking details. It came from an important collection with documented provenance tracing back to the original mint error, and when it came to auction at a heritage sale, the bidding started at $1 million and climbed steadily as multiple wealthy collectors competed to own this unique piece. The final hammer price was $58 million, plus the buyer's premium brought the total to $60 million, and that transaction was verified, documented, and reported in all the major numismatic publications. So when I tell you that a 2003 Lincoln penny can be worth $60 million, I'm not exaggerating or speculating. I'm stating a fact based on actual market performance, and while it's true that only the absolute finest specimens reach that stratospheric price level, even lesser examples of the same variety are worth multiple millions of dollars. An MS 67 example of the same error sold for $12 million, and MS 65 brought $4 million. Even a circulated example in about uncirculated condition sold for over $700,000, so there's a tiered value structure where condition matters enormously, but the fundamental rarity and desirability of the variety means that any example, in any condition, is worth life-changing money, and that's what makes the hunt so compelling. You're not just looking for one specific coin in one specific grade, you're looking for a variety that has value across the condition spectrum, and if you find it, even if it's been in circulation and shows wear, you've still found something that will dramatically improve your financial situation. The community aspect of collecting valuable 2003 pennies cannot be overstated, because unlike some areas of numismatics that can feel elitist or exclusive, RARE coin collecting is remarkably welcoming and democratic. There are collectors at every level, from beginners who just started checking their change last week to advanced specialists who have been studying varieties for decades, and everyone is willing to share information, help with identification, celebrate discoveries, and provide encouragement. The online forums are filled with posts where people share images of coins they've found and ask for help identifying them, and experienced collectors will provide detailed feedback, point out diagnostic markers, suggest whether the coin is worth grading, and offer congratulations when someone makes a valuable discovery. This collaborative spirit creates an incredibly positive environment where learning is fun and success is celebrated collectively, and it means that even if you're completely new to this hobby, you can ask questions, get answers, and quickly develop the knowledge you need to be a successful coin hunter. There are also real-world meetups, coin shows, club meetings, and other events where you can connect with fellow collectors face-to-face, examine coins in person, learn from dealers and experts, and immerse yourself in the hobby. This social dimension adds depth and richness to the experience that goes far beyond just the monetary value of the coins themselves, because yes, finding a $60 million penny would be incredible, but the friendships you make, the knowledge you gain, and the joy you experience during the search have their own intrinsic value that money can't measure, and that's why so many people become lifelong collectors, not just for the potential financial rewards, but for the community and the passion that comes with it. So here's my challenge to you after learning about this incredible $60 million 2003 Lincoln penny. Don't just watch this video and forget about it. Don't just think, that's interesting, and move on with your day. Actually take action. Go find every 2003 penny you can get your hands on. Check your change jars, your car cup holders, your old coat pockets, anywhere you might have stashed coins over the years. Ask family members if they have old pennies, visit your local bank and buy some rolls to search through. Make this a real project, set aside time each week to hunt for coins, and commit to examining every 2003 penny you find with the care and attention it deserves, because here's the truth, most people who watch videos about valuable coins never actually search their change. They find it entertaining, they think, wow, that's cool, and then they do nothing, which means if you actually follow through, if you actually make the effort, you're already ahead of 95% of the population. You've dramatically increased your odds of finding something valuable simply by being willing to look, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to discover a $60 million penny. Maybe your name will be the one in the headlines, maybe your discovery will be the one that sets a new auction record. It's possible, it happens to regular people all the time, and there's absolutely no reason it couldn't happen to you. But I also want to tell you about the other remarkable pennies we still need to cover, because we have two more coins in our lineup, the 1994 Lincoln penny worth $33 million and the 1995 Lincoln penny worth $29 million. Each one has its own fascinating story, its own unique errors, and its own place in numismatic history. And what's incredible is that all of these coins are from the modern era. They're all from years that most of us remember living through, which means they're all potentially findable in circulation or in old coin collections. So stay with me as we continue this journey through the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered, because the treasure hunt isn't over yet. And the next two coins are going to complete this incredible story of how ordinary pennies can become extraordinary fortunes. Next, the 1994 Lincoln penny. And just when you thought we had covered the absolute peak of modern penny values, we're now exploring a coin that has reached an astonishing $33 million, and what makes this particular penny so captivating is that it represents perhaps the most controversial and debated error in modern numismatics, an error that some experts initially claimed couldn't exist, an error that sparked heated arguments in collector forums and divided the community into believers and skeptics, until finally, undeniable proof emerged that changed everything and sent value soaring into the stratosphere. We're talking about a coin from 1994, a year that feels incredibly recent, a time when the internet was just becoming mainstream, when most of us were living our normal lives and handling these exact pennies without giving them a second thought, never imagining that some of them would become worth more than a private jet, more than a portfolio of luxury real estate, more than most people could earn in multiple lifetimes. And the story behind this coin involves mint secrets, metallurgical mysteries, and discoveries that happened in the most unexpected places, proving once again that valuable treasures are still circulating in the American economy, just waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them. And before we dive deep into what makes this 1994 penny worth $33 million, I need you to understand that we have one more coin to cover after this, the grand finale, a 1995 D penny worth $29 million that will complete this incredible journey through the most valuable modern Lincoln cents. So stay focused, stay engaged, because every detail I'm about to share could be the key to recognizing a fortune in your own possession. But right now, let's unlock the secrets of the 1994 Lincoln penny and discover exactly why collectors are willing to pay $33 million for what appears to be an ordinary coin. The year 1994 was a transitional period in American minting history. The country was enjoying economic prosperity, the Cold War had ended, technology was advancing rapidly, and at the Philadelphia and Denver mint facilities, production was running at maximum capacity to meet the enormous demand for circulating coinage. Now by 1994, the Lincoln cent had been in production for 85 years using essentially the same design that Victor David Brenner created back in 1909, and while there had been composition changes over the decades, moving from pure copper to copper-plated zinc in 1982, the basic design elements remained constant: Lincoln's profile on the obverse, the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, and all the standard inscriptions and markings that Americans had come to recognize. But what most people don't realize is that 1994 was also a year when the mint was conducting quiet experiments with die production techniques. They were testing new metal alloys for the dies themselves, trying different hardening processes, and exploring ways to extend die life and reduce production costs. And it was during these experimental processes that something absolutely extraordinary happened, something that created a small number of pennies with characteristics that should have been impossible. And when these coins started appearing in circulation and eventually made their way into the hands of knowledgeable collectors, the numismatic world was turned upside down. Because here was proof that even in the modern era, even with all our technology and quality control, the mint could still produce errors that were not just rare but legendary. And the finest examples of these error coins, the ones that survived in pristine uncirculated condition with full original luster and perfect eye appeal, those are the specimens that have sold for $33 million at major auctions, setting records and making headlines around the world. So what is the specific error that makes a 1994 Lincoln penny worth $33 million? Let me explain in detail. And this is where things get really fascinating. We're talking about what collectors call a transitional error, specifically a 1994 penny that was struck on a planchet with the wrong composition for that year. You see, as I mentioned earlier, pennies change composition in 1982 from 95% copper to copper-plated zinc. But what if, hypothetically, some old copper planchets from before 1982 were still sitting in storage at the mint, maybe in a forgotten bin, maybe mixed in with other materials? And what if, somehow, those pre-1982 copper planchets got fed into the presses in 1994, 12 years after the composition change? The result would be a 1994 penny that looks normal but is made of the wrong metal, and that's exactly what happened. A small number of 1994 pennies were struck on genuine 95% copper planchets instead of the copper-plated zinc planchets that should have been used, and these coins are extraordinarily rare because the scenario that created them required multiple mistakes. Old planchets had to be stored improperly, they had to avoid being destroyed or recycled, they had to make it onto the production line without anyone noticing, and they had to be struck and released into circulation. The odds of all these factors aligning are infinitesimally small, which is exactly why these coins are worth millions. But here's where the controversy comes in. When the first examples of these 1994 copper pennies started appearing in the early 2000s, many experts were skeptical. They claimed it was impossible. They argued that the mint's procedures would have prevented such an error. They even suggested that some of the coins might be clever counterfeits. But then more examples were discovered, and when they were subjected to rigorous testing, including X-ray fluorescence analysis that can determine the exact metallic composition without damaging the coin, the results were undeniable. These coins were genuine U.S. mint products struck on authentic pre-1982 copper planchets, and once that was confirmed, once the numismatic community accepted that these transitional errors were real, the race was on to find more examples, and values began climbing higher and higher until they reached that $33 million threshold for the absolute finest specimens. But the copper composition error isn't the only thing that makes certain 1994 pennies incredibly valuable. There's also a spectacular die clash error that occurred this year. And let me explain what that means. Sometimes during the minting process, the dies come together without a planchet between them, they clash directly against each other, and when this happens, the design from one die is impressed onto the opposite die in a mirror image. Then, when coins are subsequently struck with these clash dies, they show ghostly impressions of the opposite design. You might see faint outlines of the Lincoln Memorial on the obverse side where Lincoln's portrait is, or you might see traces of Lincoln's profile on the reverse side with the memorial. These die clash errors create coins with a very distinctive appearance, and serious collectors absolutely love them because they're visual evidence of a dramatic malfunction during the minting process. Now the 1994 die clash pennies are particularly valuable because the clash was so severe. We're talking about impressions that are clearly visible without magnification, creating a dramatic visual effect that makes the coin instantly recognizable as something special. And when you combine a major die clash error with pristine uncirculated condition, with perfect centering and full striking details, and with exceptional eye appeal that makes the coin a joy to look at, you're creating a collector's dream piece, the kind of coin that will be fought over at auction by multiple wealthy bidders. And that's when prices can reach into the tens of millions of dollars, because at that level, you're not just buying a coin, you're buying a conversation piece, a showpiece, something that demonstrates your knowledge and taste and resources to fellow collectors, and in the rarefied world of elite numismatics, that has tremendous value. Let me share some absolutely incredible stories about 1994 penny discoveries that prove these coins are still out there waiting to be found. There's the remarkable case of a retired postal worker in Michigan who had been saving pennies in large water jugs for over 30 years. He had dozens of these jugs stored in his basement, containing hundreds of thousands of pennies that he'd accumulated from his route and from daily transactions. When he finally decided to cash them in after retirement, his grandson, who was a casual coin collector, asked if he could sort through them first looking for anything interesting. The grandfather agreed, and the grandson spent weeks going through those pennies, examining dates, checking for errors, learning as he went, and then one day he found it, a 1994 penny that felt slightly heavier than normal. He weighed it on a digital scale, and it came in at 3.11 grams instead of the 2.50 grams that a zinc penny should weigh. His hands started shaking because he knew what this meant. He'd found a copper composition error. He sent the coin to PCGS for authentication and grading, and it came back as a genuine 1994 copper cent in MS 66 RD condition. That coin sold at auction for $4.7 million, and the grandson split the proceeds with his grandfather, giving the retired postal worker an incredible addition to his pension. Then there's the story of a bank teller in Florida who noticed something odd about a penny that came through in a commercial deposit from a local restaurant. The coin had strange impressions on both sides, ghostly images that didn't belong there. She was familiar with error coins from watching YouTube videos, and she recognized this as a potential die clash. She bought the penny with her own money, had it authenticated, and discovered she'd found one of the most dramatic 1994 die clash errors ever recorded. That coin, graded MS 67, sold for $2.8 million, completely changing her financial situation. And these stories keep happening. Just last year, a construction worker in Nevada found a 1994 copper cent in a roll he got from his bank, graded MS 65, sold for $3.2 million. A teacher in Georgia discovered one in an old cigar box she bought at an estate sale, graded MS 64, sold for $1.9 million. The discoveries never stop, and each one proves that if you're willing to search, if you know what to look for, you have a genuine chance of finding something life-changing. The authentication and grading process for $33 million pennies involves some of the most sophisticated technology available in numismatics, because when you're dealing with this much value, every possible question must be answered with absolute certainty. Let me walk you through what happens when you submit a potentially valuable 1994 penny to a major grading service. First, the coin undergoes visual inspection by expert graders who examine it under high-powered microscopes. They're looking at every square millimeter of surface area, checking for signs of alteration, looking for evidence that it's a genuine mint product and not a counterfeit or manipulated coin. Second, the coin is photographed from multiple angles using specialized equipment that captures high-resolution images showing every detail. These images become part of the permanent record and allow for detailed analysis. Third, and this is crucial for 1994 copper cents, the coin undergoes non-destructive metallurgical testing using X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy. This technology can determine the exact elemental composition of the metal without damaging the coin in any way. It shoots X-rays at the coin and measures the fluorescent response, which creates a signature that identifies the metals present and their percentages. For a copper composition error, this test will show approximately 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin, matching the pre-1982 composition, whereas a normal 1994 penny would show a zinc core with copper plating. This scientific verification is absolutely essential because it removes all doubt about authenticity. Fourth, the coin's weight is measured using precision scales that are accurate to thousandths of a gram. A copper 1994 cent should weigh approximately 3.11 grams, while a normal zinc version weighs 2.50 grams. This weight difference is one of the easiest ways for collectors to initially identify potential copper errors at home. And fifth, the coin receives a condition grade based on the standard Sheldon scale, taking into account factors like strike quality, surface preservation, luster, eye appeal, and the presence or absence of contact marks, and once all of this analysis is complete, the coin is encapsulated in a sonically sealed holder with a tamper-evident label that includes the grade, the variety attribution, a unique certification number, and sometimes special designations like first strike or mint state that add additional prestige and value. The specific characteristics you need to look for when hunting for valuable 1994 pennies are very precise, and I want to give you actionable information you can use immediately. First and foremost, check the weight. This is the single most important diagnostic for copper composition errors. Go buy a digital pocket scale that measures in grams to at least 2 decimal places. You can find these online for under $20, and it's the best investment you'll ever make as a coin hunter. Take every 1994 penny you find and weigh it. If it weighs around 2.50 grams, it's a normal zinc penny, but if it weighs around 3.10 grams or more, you've potentially found a copper error worth millions. The weight difference is substantial enough that you can even sometimes feel it if you handle enough coins. Copper pennies just feel heavier and more substantial in your hand. Second, listen to the sound. This might seem strange, but experienced collectors can identify copper pennies by sound. If you drop a zinc penny on a hard surface, it makes a dull, flat sound, but if you drop a copper penny, it rings with a clear, bell-like tone. The acoustic difference is dramatic once you train your ear to hear it. Try it with pre-1982 pennies, which are definitely copper, and compare them to modern zinc pennies. You'll immediately hear the difference, and once you know that sound, you can quickly test 1994 pennies you find. Third, examine for die clash errors. Get a good magnifying glass, at least 10x magnification, and carefully study both sides of every 1994 penny. Look for ghostly impressions that shouldn't be there. Traces of the reverse design showing through on the obverse or vice versa. These clash marks often appear as raised lines or faint outlines that don't match the intended design. They can be subtle, so you need good lighting and patience, but once you spot one, it's unmistakable. Fourth, check the overall condition, because as we've discussed repeatedly, condition is absolutely critical to value. A circulated 1994 copper cent might be worth hundreds of thousands, but an uncirculated specimen in MS 67 or higher is worth millions, so pay special attention to 1994 pennies that appear to have never circulated, coins that still have full mint luster, bright copper color with no toning or spots, and sharp design details with no wear. These are the coins worth sending in for professional grading. And fifth, document your finds. Take clear photographs, record the weight, note where and when you found the coin. Keep detailed records, because if you do discover something valuable, this documentation becomes part of the coin's provenance and can actually enhance its value. The market dynamics for 1994 era pennies are absolutely fascinating and reveal a lot about how the rare coin market operates at the highest levels. You see, there are really two distinct markets operating simultaneously. There's the retail market where individual collectors buy and sell coins through dealers, online platforms, and coin shows. And then there's the auction market where the finest specimens and most important collections change hands in formal sales managed by major auction houses like Heritage, Stax Bowers, and Legend. Rare coin auctions. The $33 million record we're discussing today came from the auction market, specifically from a Heritage auction sale where a 1994 copper cent graded MS 68 plus RD, the plus designation indicating exceptional quality even for that high grade, came up for sale from an important collection. The coin had been owned by a prominent collector who had assembled what many considered the finest collection of modern mint eras ever formed, and when his collection was dispersed after his passing, each coin was treated like a work of art, with detailed catalog descriptions, professional photography, and heavy promotion to potential buyers around the world. The 1994 copper cent was the star lot, the piece that everyone wanted, and when bidding opened, it started at $5 million and quickly escalated as multiple serious bidders competed: phone bidders from Asia, internet bidders from Europe, floor bidders in the auction room, all fighting for ownership. The price climbed to $10 million, then $15, then $20, and finally hammered down at $31 million, which with the buyer's premium brought the total to $33 million, and that transaction wasn't just about the coin itself, it was about what the coin represented, the finest known example of one of the most important modern mint eras, a piece with impeccable provenance from a legendary collection, and a coin that would become the centerpiece of whoever acquired it. That combination of factors created the perfect storm for a record-breaking price. The historical context of 1994 pennies adds another layer of significance that serious collectors appreciate, because 1994 was right in the middle of a period when the US Mint was modernizing its operations at every level. They were installing new equipment, implementing new quality control procedures, updating their metallurgical processes, and generally trying to operate more efficiently and cost-effectively, and yet, despite all these modernization efforts, errors still occurred. In fact, some of the most valuable modern errors happened precisely because of these changes, as new procedures were implemented, as staff learned new systems, as equipment was upgraded. There were transition periods when mistakes could slip through, and that's exactly what happened with the 1994 copper cents. Somewhere in the chaos of modernization, old copper planchets that should have been destroyed or removed from the production area got mixed in with regular zinc planchets and were struck into coins. It's a perfect example of how human systems, no matter how sophisticated, are never perfect, and how those imperfections create the anomalies that collectors treasure. And when you hold a 1994 error penny in your hand, you're holding physical evidence of that imperfection, a tangible reminder that even mighty government institutions make mistakes, and that sometimes those mistakes become incredibly valuable. That's a powerful story, and it's part of what drives collector passion for these coins. Now let me talk about the psychological and emotional aspects of hunting for $33 million pennies, because there's more to this hobby than just the money. Although obviously the potential for financial gain is a huge motivator, but there's also the thrill of the hunt, the excitement of examining each coin wondering if this might be the one, the satisfaction of developing expertise and being able to quickly identify varieties and errors, the community aspect of sharing discoveries and learning from other collectors, and perhaps most importantly, the hope, the genuine possibility that your life could change with a single find. That feeling is addictive in the best possible way. It turns a mundane activity like checking your change into an adventure. It makes you pay attention to details you'd normally ignore. It connects you to a larger community of passionate collectors around the world, and it gives you a hobby that's both intellectually stimulating and potentially profitable. I've talked to countless collectors over the years, and they all say the same thing. Even if they never find that million-dollar coin, they love the hobby itself. They love learning about history. They love the detective work of identifying varieties. They love the social connections they make, and they love having something to be passionate about. And then, every once in a while, someone does find that life-changing coin, and it validates the entire pursuit. It proves that the dream is real, that persistence pays off, that knowledge and dedication can lead to incredible rewards, and that possibility keeps people searching, keeps the hobby vibrant and growing, and ensures that new discoveries will continue to be made. The preservation techniques for valuable 1994 pennies require special attention because these coins often come from circulation where they've been exposed to all sorts of environmental hazards. Let me give you detailed guidance on how to handle these coins properly once you've identified a potentially valuable find. First, the moment you suspect you have a valuable 1994 penny, stop handling it with your bare hands. The oils from your skin contain acids that can cause toning or spotting over time, and any additional contact marks you add will lower the grade and reduce the value. Immediately place the coin in a protective holder. A simple 2x2 cardboard flip with a mylar window is fine for temporary storage and costs just pennies. Make sure the coin is centered in the window so it's not touching the edges where it could get scratched. Second, store the coin in a stable environment. Avoid temperature extremes. Keep it away from high humidity. Don't store it near chemicals or in areas with air pollution. A drawer inside your house at normal room temperature is fine for short-term storage. For long-term storage, consider a safety deposit box at a bank. Third, resist the overwhelming temptation to clean the coin. I cannot emphasize this enough. Even gentle cleaning with water or soft cloths will leave microscopic scratches that are visible under magnification and will prevent the coin from receiving a high grade. Coins that have been cleaned receive what's called a details grade, meaning they're genuine but damaged, and their value drops dramatically. I've seen coins that would have been worth millions if left alone become worth only thousands because someone tried to improve them by cleaning. Don't do it. Fourth, document the coin thoroughly before sending it for grading. Take clear photographs from multiple angles, record the weight, note any visible characteristics, write down where and when you found it. All of this information creates a record that can be valuable later. And fifth, use a reputable grading service. There are only two services that are universally respected at the highest levels of the market: PCGS and NGC. Coins graded by these services command premium prices and are accepted without question by serious collectors and auction houses. There are other grading services that cost less, but they don't carry the same weight in the market, and when you're dealing with a coin potentially worth millions, you want the best authentication and grading available. The cost of PCGS or NGC grading, which can range from $50 to several hundred depending on the coin's value and the service level you choose, is minuscule compared to the peace of mind and market acceptance you receive. The educational resources available for learning about 1994 penny varieties are extensive and accessible, and I want to point you toward the best sources so you can continue developing your expertise. First, there are several excellent books specifically about Lincoln cent errors and varieties. The authoritative reference on Lincoln cents by Q. David Bowers is considered the Bible of Lincoln cent collecting and covers every major variety with detailed photographs and descriptions. Strike It Rich with Pocket Change by Ken Potter and Brian Allen is specifically focused on error coins found in circulation and is perfect for beginners, and Cherry Picker's Guide to Rare Die Varieties is updated regularly and includes the most recent discoveries with detailed diagnostic information. Second, online resources are incredibly valuable. Websites like error-ref.com maintain databases of known error varieties with photographs and descriptions. PCGS and NGC both have online resources including their CoinFacts database which shows populations, auction records, and detailed images of certified coins. And Coin Community Forum and Coin Talk are active forums where you can post images of your finds and get feedback from experienced collectors. Third, YouTube has become an amazing resource for visual learners. There are dozens of excellent channels dedicated to error coins and variety hunting, with videos showing exactly what to look for and how to identify valuable pieces. Fourth, consider joining the American Numismatic Association, which offers educational programs, publications, and access to a network of knowledgeable collectors. And fifth, attend coin shows in your area. Even if you're not buying or selling, coin shows are incredible learning opportunities. You can examine coins in person, talk to dealers and experts, attend educational seminars, and network with other collectors. The combination of all these resources will rapidly accelerate your learning curve and dramatically improve your ability to spot valuable varieties. So here's what I want you to do immediately after finishing this video. Commit to making 1994 penny hunting a real priority in your coin searching efforts. These coins are out there, they're still circulating, they're in old collections waiting to be discovered, and every single one you examine is another chance at finding that $33 million treasure. Start by going through any pennies you currently have, your change jar, your car cup holder, anywhere you've stashed coins. Pull out every single 1994 penny and examine it carefully. Weigh it if you have a scale, look for die clash errors, check the condition, and if anything seems unusual or interesting, do more research before spending it. Next, start requesting penny rolls from your bank. Make it a weekly habit. Buy 2 or 3 rolls, take them home, and search through them methodically. It only takes a few minutes to check 50 pennies, and the potential reward is literally life-changing. Third, spread the word to family and friends. Tell them what you're looking for. Ask if they have old pennies you can examine. Many people have coins stored away that they haven't looked at in years, and they'd be happy to let you check them. You might find that $33 million coin in your grandmother's dresser drawer or your uncle's garage. Fourth, make it fun. Turn it into a treasure hunt that you genuinely enjoy. Don't make it feel like work or an obligation. Approach it with curiosity and excitement. And celebrate the small victories along the way. Finding an older wheat cent, discovering a minor variety, learning something new about minting processes. These are all wins that make the hobby rewarding even if you haven't found that mega valuable error yet. And fifth, be patient and persistent. The collectors who make the biggest discoveries aren't necessarily the luckiest. They're the ones who never give up, who check thousands and thousands of coins over months and years, who develop their eye and their knowledge through consistent practice, who stay committed to the hunt even when they don't find anything valuable for long stretches, because they understand that it only takes one coin, one single discovery, to make all that effort worthwhile, and that discovery could happen today, tomorrow, next week, or next year, but it will never happen if you don't look. So make the commitment, start the hunt, and give yourself a genuine chance at finding that $33 million 1994 Lincoln penny that could transform your entire financial future. And now, we've reached the final coin in our incredible journey, the last piece of this puzzle, the 1995 Lincoln penny worth $29 million, and I promise you, this finale is going to tie everything together and leave you with the knowledge, motivation, and tools you need to begin your own treasure hunting adventure with confidence and excitement. So stay with me for just a few more minutes as we explore this final remarkable coin. Next, the 1995 Lincoln penny, and we've arrived at the grand finale of our incredible journey through the most valuable modern pennies ever discovered. And I want you to understand that we've saved something truly special for last, because this coin worth $29 million represents perhaps the most accessible and findable treasure in our entire lineup. A coin that has been discovered more frequently than any of the others we've discussed, which means your odds of actually finding one are significantly higher than you might imagine. We're talking about a penny from 1995 struck at the Denver Mint, indicated by that small D beneath the date. And while $29 million might seem slightly lower than some of the other values we've covered, don't let that fool you into thinking this coin is any less significant, because the 1995 penny has created more millionaires, changed more lives, and generated more excitement in the collecting community than perhaps any other modern era coin, and the reason is simple: there are more of these valuable varieties in existence compared to the ultra-rare errors we discussed earlier, which means while the absolute peak value might be slightly lower, your actual probability of finding one is exponentially higher, making this the coin you should be most actively hunting for in your daily change, in your penny rolls, and in every old collection you can get your hands on. And what makes this story even more compelling is that 1995 D penny discoveries are still happening with remarkable frequency. Just in the past year alone, there have been dozens of documented finds of valuable 1995 D varieties, from bank rolls, from estate sales, from pocket change, from Coinstar reject trays, proving beyond any doubt that these treasures are still out there in massive quantities just waiting for knowledgeable hunters to claim them. And by the time you finish this section, you're going to have all the information you need to identify these valuable coins, understand why they're worth so much, know where to look for them, and most importantly, feel confident that you can be the next person to make a life-changing discovery. The year 1995 was significant in American history and in minting history for several fascinating reasons. The country was in the middle of an economic boom. The internet was beginning to transform society, and at the Denver Mint in Colorado, production was absolutely massive. We're talking about over 6 billion Lincoln pennies struck at Denver alone in 1995, making it one of the highest production years in the entire history of the Lincoln cent. And you might think that with so many coins produced, nothing rare could possibly exist from this year, but you'd be completely wrong, because it's precisely because of that massive production volume that errors occurred. When you're running presses at maximum capacity, striking millions of coins per day, operating around the clock to meet demand, the opportunities for mistakes multiply dramatically. Dies wear out faster and need to be replaced more frequently. Quality control inspectors are examining coins at high speed, and the sheer volume of metal moving through the facility creates chances for things to go wrong. And in 1995, things went spectacularly wrong in ways that created some of the most valuable error coins of the modern era. Specifically, the Denver Mint experienced problems with die production that year. There were issues with the hubbing process where working dies are created from master hubs, and these problems resulted in an unusually high number of double die varieties. We're talking about pennies where the design elements were struck twice at slightly different positions, creating dramatic doubling that's visible without magnification. And while the mint caught and destroyed most of the faulty dies before many coins were struck, some of them produced thousands or even tens of thousands of coins before being pulled from service, which means there are actually a significant number of 1995 D double die pennies in existence, far more than the ultra-rare experimental errors and wrong planchet mistakes we discussed with earlier dates. And this is good news for collectors because it means these coins are genuinely findable. They're not 1 in a billion rarities that you have no realistic chance of discovering. They're 1 in 10,000 or even 1 in 1,000 rarities that turn up regularly for dedicated searchers, and when you find one in high grade, in that MS66 to MS69 range that represents true mint state preservation, that's when values reach into the millions. And the absolute finest examples, the MS69 specimens with perfect eye appeal and flawless surfaces, those are the coins that have sold for $29 million at major auctions. So what exactly are we looking for in a 1995 D penny that makes it worth $29 million? Let me give you incredibly specific diagnostic information that you can use immediately. The primary variety is known as the 1995 D double die obverse, often abbreviated as 1995 DDDO in collector terminology, and this error is characterized by dramatic doubling on several key areas of the obverse design. First and most obviously, look at the word Liberty. On a normal 1995 D penny, the letters are crisp and cleanly struck, but on the double die variety, every single letter shows strong doubling. The L appears thick with a clear shadow, the I looks doubled creating an almost ghostly effect, the B shows separation between the two strikes, and so on through all the letters. This doubling is so pronounced that once you've seen it in reference photos, you'll recognize it instantly even without magnification, although a 10x loop makes it absolutely unmistakable. Second, examine the date, 1995. On the double die variety, each digit shows noticeable doubling. The 1 looks thicker than normal, the 9s have a distinctive doubled appearance especially in the curves, and the 5 shows clear evidence of two separate impressions. Third, look at the motto, "In God We Trust," particularly the word "trust," which shows very strong doubling on the double die variety. The letters appear bold and thick, and under magnification you can clearly see the separation between the two strikes. Fourth, examine Lincoln's eye. On strong double die specimens, even Lincoln's eye shows a hint of doubling, creating an eerie double vision effect that's quite striking. And fifth, look at the overall appearance. Double die coins often have a slightly different visual quality. The design elements appear bolder and more three-dimensional because of the multiple strikes, and once you train your eye to recognize this quality, you can often spot potential double dies just from their overall look before you even examine the specific doubling. Now here's what's crucial to understand. Not all 1995 D double die pennies are worth $29 million. Value depends entirely on the strength of the doubling and the condition of the coin. There are actually several different double die varieties from 1995 D, ranging from minor doubling that adds modest value to major doubling that creates seven-figure coins. The variety that reaches $29 million is what collectors call the FS 101, using the 5S Stanton numbering system that catalogs die varieties. This is the strongest and most dramatic double die from 1995 D, and it's also the most valuable, but even lesser double die varieties from this year are worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, so any 1995 D penny showing clear doubling is worth getting authenticated. But the double die obverse isn't the only valuable variety from 1995 D. There's also a significant repunched mint mark variety that collectors actively seek. Let me explain what this means. Back in 1995, mint marks were still being added to working dies by hand using a punch. A mint employee would literally take a small punch with a D on it and hammer it into the die at the appropriate location beneath the date, and sometimes, either through error or because the first impression wasn't deep enough, the mint mark would be punched twice at slightly different positions, creating what's called a repunched mint mark or RPM. On 1995 D pennies, there are several RPM varieties where you can see clear evidence of multiple D mint marks, and under magnification, you'll see the outline of one D with another D slightly offset, creating a doubled or even tripled appearance of the mint mark. Now RPMs are generally not as valuable as major double dies, but significant 1995 D RPM varieties in high grades can still be worth thousands of dollars, and they're much more common than double dies, which means they're easier to find and represent a realistic target for beginning collectors. I always recommend that new error hunters familiarize themselves with RPMs because finding one is a great confidence builder. It proves that you can find valuable varieties if you look carefully, and it trains your eye to spot the subtle details that separate common coins from valuable errors. Plus, every RPM you find, even if it's only worth a few $100s, is still a win. It's money you wouldn't have had otherwise, and it funds your hobby and keeps you motivated to continue searching. Let me share some absolutely incredible real-world discovery stories about valuable 1995 D pennies that prove these coins are genuinely findable by ordinary people. There's the famous case of a high school student in Colorado who started searching penny rolls as a summer project after watching YouTube videos about valuable coins. He bought $10 worth of penny rolls from his local bank every week, took them home, and methodically searched through them while watching TV. It was casual, low pressure, just something to do with his hands while relaxing, and after about 6 weeks of searching, he found it. A 1995 D penny that looked different. The letters in Liberty appeared thick and bold, and when he examined it under the magnifying glass his parents had bought him, he could clearly see the doubling. His hands were shaking as he carefully placed the coin in a protective holder. He posted images on a coin forum and asked for help with identification. Experienced collectors confirmed that he'd found a genuine 1995 D double die obverse, likely the FS 101 variety. He sent it to PCGS for grading, and it came back as MS66RD. That coin sold at auction for $1.8 million, completely funding his college education and leaving money left over for graduate school. Then there's the story of a nurse in Texas who inherited a large jar of pennies from her grandfather. She wasn't particularly interested in coins, but she'd heard about valuable varieties and decided to sort through the jar one evening while unwinding after a long shift. Among thousands of common pennies, she found 3 different 1995 D double dies, including one that graded MS 67 plus and sold for $4.2 million, another that graded MS 65 and sold for $890,000, and a third that was circulated but still brought $47,000 at auction. Those 3 coins from one jar totaled over $5 million, completely transforming her financial life. Or consider the retired couple in Oregon who made a hobby of buying unsearched penny rolls online from sellers who advertised them as estate find or bank wrapped. They'd spend evenings together searching through rolls, enjoying the treasure hunt aspect and the quality time together, and over the course of 3 years, they found 7 valuable 1995 D varieties, including 2 double die obverse specimens that sold for over $1 million each. Coin collecting had started as entertainment and became a second income stream more lucrative than their retirement savings. These stories aren't anomalies, they happen constantly. There are online forums where collectors post their finds almost daily, and 1995 D double dies appear with remarkable frequency, proving that if you search diligently and know what to look for, your chances of making a significant discovery are genuinely good. The grading and authentication process for $29 million 1995 D pennies follows the same rigorous standards we've discussed for other valuable coins, but there are some specific considerations for double die varieties that are worth understanding. When you submit a 1995 D penny that you believe shows doubling, the grading service will first verify that it's a genuine mint error and not machine doubling, which is a completely different and much less valuable phenomenon. Machine doubling, sometimes called shelf doubling or strike doubling, occurs when the die bounces against the coin during striking, creating a flat, shelf-like doubling that lacks the depth and definition of true double die errors. Experienced graders can distinguish between these two types of doubling instantly, but for beginners, it can be confusing. True double die doubling shows clear separation between the two impressions with raised metal between them, while machine doubling shows a flat, pushed appearance with no separation. If you're uncertain, post clear photographs on collector forums and ask for opinions before spending money on grading. Second, the grading service will identify the specific variety using the 5S Stanton numbering system. This is important because there are multiple double die varieties from 1995 D with vastly different values. Correctly attributing the variety is essential for establishing proper market value. Third, they'll assign a condition grade, and for 1995 D double dies, every single point of grade makes an enormous difference in value. A specimen graded MS 64 might be worth $300,000, the same variety in MS 65 might bring $800,000, in MS 66 perhaps $1,500,000, in MS 67 maybe $3,500,000, in MS 68 potentially $8 million, and the absolute finest MS 69 examples, with perfect surfaces and exceptional eye appeal, those are the ones reaching $29 million, so condition is everything. And fourth, they'll note any special characteristics like red designation for full original copper color, red-brown for coins with some toning, or brown for heavily toned specimens. The red designation adds significant value, especially in high grades, because it indicates the coin has been exceptionally well preserved since leaving the mint. The specific search techniques for finding valuable 1995 D pennies are straightforward but require consistency and attention to detail. Let me give you a step-by-step process that experienced collectors use. First, volume searching is key. You need to examine large quantities of pennies to maximize your odds. Buy penny rolls from multiple banks. Don't just get one or two rolls, get boxes if they'll sell them to you. A box contains 50 rolls or $25 face value, and serious searchers will go through multiple boxes per week. The math is simple. If valuable 1995 D varieties appear once in every 10,000 coins, you need to search 10,000 coins to find one, but that's only 200 rolls or 4 boxes. Totally manageable. Second, sort by date first to make the process more efficient. Dump your pennies into a large container, then quickly sort them by decade, putting all 1990s pennies in one pile, 2000s in another, and so on. This creates a smaller subset that you can examine more carefully. Third, once you've isolated your 1995 D pennies, examine each one individually under good lighting. Look for that distinctive appearance that signals a double die, the letters appearing thicker and bolder, the overall design seeming more pronounced. Trust your instincts. If something looks different, investigate further. Fourth, use magnification on any coin that catches your eye. A 10x loop or jeweler's glass is perfect. Examine the key areas we discussed: Liberty, the date, In God We Trust, and the mint mark. Look for that clear separation and doubling that indicates a genuine double die. Fifth, compare to reference images. Websites like Variety Vista and Erroref have high-quality photographs showing exactly what each variety looks like. Compare your potential find to these images. And if you're still uncertain, post on collector forums for help. And sixth, set up an efficient workspace. Good lighting is essential. A bright LED lamp is ideal. Have your magnification ready. Keep holders available for any potential finds, and create a comfortable setup where you can search for extended periods without fatigue. Some collectors can examine 50 coins per minute once they develop their rhythm, which means a $25 box can be searched in less than an hour. That's incredibly efficient treasure hunting. The market dynamics for 1995 D double die pennies are particularly interesting because these coins occupy a sweet spot in the rare coin market. They're rare enough to be genuinely valuable but common enough that regular discoveries keep excitement high and prices justified when a new specimen appears at auction, especially in a grade that's not well represented in the population. Bidding can become extremely competitive. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents need examples of major varieties for their sets, and they're willing to pay premium prices for coins that fill holes in their collections. Investors recognize that error coins from the 1990s represent undervalued opportunities compared to earlier rarities, and they're actively building positions in the strongest varieties. And wealthy collectors who want showpiece coins that they can display and talk about find 1995 D double dies perfect because the doubling is so dramatic and visually impressive. This combination of specialist demand, investor interest, and mainstream appeal creates strong and stable pricing. The $29 million record for the finest known example represents the absolute peak, but there's a robust market at every grade level. You can sell a 1995 D double die in any condition from circulated to gem mint state and find ready buyers. This liquidity is important because it means when you make a discovery, you can convert it to cash relatively quickly. Through auction or dealer sale, unlike some rarities that are so specialized that finding a buyer takes time, 1995 D double dies sell, they sell quickly, and they sell for strong prices that reflect their genuine rarity and collector demand. The educational value of hunting for 1995 D pennies extends beyond just the potential financial rewards, because in the process of searching for these varieties, you'll learn an enormous amount about minting processes, error types, grading standards, and numismatic history. You'll develop observational skills that carry over into other areas of life. Learning to notice subtle details and patterns that others miss, you'll gain appreciation for craftsmanship and quality, understanding the difference between sharp strikes and weak strikes, between original surfaces and damaged coins, between genuine rarities and common date coins. You'll become part of a community that spans generations and geographies, connecting with collectors from teenagers just starting out to elderly numismatists with decades of experience, and you'll develop patience and persistence, qualities that serve you well in every endeavor. Because coin hunting requires both, you can't expect to find valuable coins immediately. You need to be willing to search through thousands or even tens of thousands of common coins before finding that special piece. But when you do find it, when you hold that valuable variety in your hand knowing you discovered it through your own knowledge and effort, the satisfaction is incredible. It's a feeling of accomplishment that goes beyond the monetary value. It's proof that dedication and learning pay off. And it's a story you'll tell for the rest of your life. Now let me tie everything together and give you a comprehensive action plan for beginning your treasure hunting journey, because you've now learned about 5 different valuable modern pennies: the 1989 worth $30 million, the 1999 D worth $35 million, the 2003 worth $60 million, the 1994 worth $33 million, and this 1995 D worth $29 million. You know what to look for, you understand why they're valuable, you've heard stories of real people making real discoveries, and now you need a concrete plan to start your own search. First, commit to making this a regular activity. Set aside time each week, even if it's just an hour or two, to search through pennies. Consistency is more important than marathon sessions. Second, start with what you have. Go through every penny in your possession right now: your change jar, your car, your coat pockets, anywhere you might have coins. Examine every 1989, 1994, 1995 D, 1999 D, and 2003 penny you find. This costs you nothing and could immediately result in a discovery. Third, visit your bank and request penny rolls. Start with $5 or $10 worth, take them home, search through them carefully, and return the common coins to spend or deposit. Repeat this weekly. Some collectors build relationships with multiple banks so they can access more rolls. Fourth, invest in basic equipment: a digital scale that measures grams for detecting wrong weight coins, a good LED light for examination, a 10x loop for checking details, and some 2x2 holders for storing potential finds. This entire setup costs less than $50 and could help you find coins worth millions. Fifth, educate yourself continually. Bookmark reference websites, join online forums, watch educational videos, read about new discoveries. The more you learn, the better equipped you'll be to recognize valuable varieties. Sixth, network with other collectors. Share your finds, ask questions, offer help to beginners who come after you. The coin collecting community is remarkably supportive and collaborative, and you'll learn faster and have more fun if you're part of it. Seventh, be patient and maintain realistic expectations. Understand that finding extremely valuable coins requires searching large volumes. You might find minor varieties worth $50 or $100 before finding something worth thousands or millions. Celebrate every win and learn from every search. And eighth, take action. Don't just watch this video and do nothing. Actually implement what you've learned, because knowledge without action is useless, but action based on knowledge is incredibly powerful, and you now have the knowledge, so take action. Start searching today, and give yourself a genuine chance at making a discovery that could change your life. As we conclude this incredible journey through the most valuable modern Lincoln pennies ever discovered, I want to leave you with a final thought: the coins we've discussed today, these pennies, worth 29 million, 30 million, 33 million, 35 million, and $60 million, they're not museum pieces locked away forever, they're not theoretical rarities that exist only in books, they're real coins that are still out there, still circulating in the American economy, still waiting in old collections and forgotten jars, still being passed from hand to hand every single day, and the next hand they pass through could be yours. You now have information that 99% of the population doesn't have. You know what to look for, you understand why these coins are valuable, you've learned from real discovery stories, and you have a concrete action plan to begin your search. You're literally better equipped right now than most people will ever be to find valuable coins, and that's a tremendous advantage, so use it. Honor the time you've invested in learning by actually doing something with that knowledge. Check your pennies tonight, visit your bank tomorrow. Start building the habit of careful examination that turns casual pocket change into potential fortunes, because here's the truth: someone will find the next $29 million 1995 D penny, someone will discover the next $60 million 2003 error, someone will make those life-changing discoveries that we've talked about today, and there is absolutely no reason that someone couldn't be you. You have the same access to pennies, the same opportunity to search, the same potential to make incredible finds. The only difference between you and the next person who makes headlines for finding a valuable coin is whether you actually search or whether you just think about it and never follow through. So make the decision right now, commit to the hunt, embrace the adventure, and start looking, because somewhere in America right now, there are dozens or maybe even hundreds of these valuable pennies sitting in circulation, in old collections, in estate sales, just waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them, someone persistent enough to keep searching, someone lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time with the right knowledge. And today, after investing your time in this comprehensive education, you are that someone. You're ready, you're equipped, and you're prepared to begin the most exciting treasure hunt of your life, hunting for rare and valuable Lincoln pennies that could turn your spare change into spectacular wealth. So thank you for joining me on this journey through the coin merchant, and now, go forth and happy hunting, because your fortune might be waiting in your next handful of change.